I'm in another country. This is your Cybersecurity News Weekly Roundup. I'm Ali Diamond, and this is ThreatWire. Internet shadow librarian Anna's Archive recently announced that they were able to back up almost all of Spotify. Yes, literally all of Spotify. Anna's Archive was previously focused exclusively on text-based media due to its high information density. On their blog post, they announced why they started to work with Spotify. Quote, "A while ago, we discovered a way to scrape Spotify at scale. We saw a role for us here to build a music archive primarily aimed at preservation. Through their collection of metadata, actual music files, album artwork, and more, they estimated that Spotify has a total of 256 million tracks. They have already collected 99.9% of metadata of all tracks on Spotify and have collected 86 million music files, which covers 99.6% of all listens, totaling to a just about 300 terabytes of information. They'll be releasing data in parts. Given the size and scale of the massive information that they have, they first started off with the announcement of the blog post, releasing all of the metadata that they've collected. The release of actual music files, album artwork, and other information they've collected will be coming in the upcoming months. Given the mass collection of metadata and information they've collected about streams and about songs on Spotify, they've also released some absolutely fascinating statistics about Spotify music. One statistic that they published is that over 70% of songs no one has ever listened to, which they deem as songs with less than 1,000 listens. That's because on Spotify, if a song has less than 1,000 listens, they don't save the actual number of streams. Anna's Archive notes that they believe that this has happened due to the increase of slop and AI-generated music. They also were able to collect information on the most popular songs on Spotify of all time, which you probably do want to know. The number one most popular song on Spotify is Die With A Smile by Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars, with a popularity score of 100 and a stream count of 3.075 billion. Number two is Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish with a popularity score of 98 and 3.137 billion streams. And the third is DTMF by Bad Bunny with a popularity of 98 and 1.124 billion streams. The security team at Spotify is considering this a security incident and has actively been investigating how Anna's Archive has been able to achieve downloading information en masse. A set of 3 hackers were able to find major vulnerabilities that affect basically every single one of the customers of popular documentation portal Mintlify. For brevity of time as well as processing, I did use AI to help me with these stories, as information about each of the vulnerabilities was spread across 3 separate blog posts and is a little bit above my understanding. So I just wanted to give you that context. The vulnerabilities were found by hackers Eva, Daniel, and MDL. For those who don't know, Mintlify is a popular AI-enabled documentation platform that uses server-side rendering to allow for SEO and fast delivery of documentation about their users' companies. For context, the server-side rendering is important here and is a huge part of how these major vulnerabilities were found. A total of 4 CVEs were discovered: CVE 2025-67842, CVE 2025-67845, CVE 2025-67844, and CVE 2025-67846. But the major one here is CVE 2025-67842, which is a cross-site scripting attack that allows for remote code execution on any of the Mintlify users. The hackers started their exploration when it was announced that Discord was switching over from their previous documentation platform to new documentation hosted by Mintlify. Eva was able to achieve remote code execution by utilizing subdomain traversal as well as affecting the rendering engine utilized by Mintlify to generate customer documents. The most important CVE of all the CVEs found is considered to be CVE 2025-67842. They were able to affect the rendering engine used by Mintlify in order to infect other customers' documentation. An endpoint schema utilized by Mintlify exposed the ability to load malicious SVGs onto other tenants' documentation. Through this cross-site scripting attack, they were able to figure out how to poison the actual rendering engine of Mintlify, allowing them to achieve remote code execution on other customers. The other CVEs discovered include data exposure, directory traversal, and deployment bypassing. The discovered CVEs have been patched, and the hackers were rewarded over $11,000 by Mintlify and other customers. However, not every customer was willing to hear it. These CVEs affected basically every customer that Cursor had, including multi-billion-dollar valued companies. According to one of the 3 write-ups, one of these multi-billion-dollar companies, Cursor, attempted to silence their name being included in being affected by these CVEs by demanding that they were unaffected to Mintlify, but they've decided to roll back on these claims. 2026 will hopefully be the year for Rust, but in the meantime, the Rust for Linux project has announced that they've discovered their first ever CVE. For context, the Linux kernel began allowing experimentation with including Rust as a compiled language. The aim was to see if Rust was a viable programming language to use as a way to explore avoiding memory safety bugs. They finally began to allow the full inclusion of Rust in the kernel in 2022. The website Phoronix summarizes the CVE as the following. The first CVE for Rust code in the Linux kernel pertains to the Android binder rewrite in Rust. There is a race condition that can occur due to some noted unsafe Rust code. That code can lead to a memory corruption of the previous /next pointers and in turn cause a crash. While this is the first CVE for the Rust for Linux project, that same day that this CVE was announced, 159 other CVEs for the Linux kernel written in C was also announced. Even though we're in the holiday season, there are still other trending stories that I want to let you know about. SoundCloud, the streaming platform, did have outages and VPN issues which they deemed were due to a security issue caused by threat actors who stole databases, including users' emails and profile information. Hacking group Shiny Hunters has announced that they were able to utilize a data breach of Mixpanel to access information about premium users of a certain very spicy website. Google has announced that they are no longer supporting their dark web reporting tool and have instead alluded to the fact that they are potentially working on something better. Thank you so much for watching ThreatWire for the week of December 22nd, 2025. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to patreon.com/ThreatWire. Happy holidays to everyone who's watching. I hope you have a great time for whatever you may be celebrating this week. I also really appreciate y'all letting me try this new format of ThreatWire as I'm away from my normal recording studio. For those of you who don't know, normally ThreatWire is scripted by me, and so there's a little bit more polish to it, but being away from my setup, I wasn't able to use my teleprompter and other tools, so I really tried my best at this one, but I didn't want you to miss out on these really exciting stories that I had found. I'm Allie Diamond, and if you want to find me online, you can find me everywhere at endingwithali. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck, have fun, and don't get caught.